I made an episode about The Rock and how he was positioning himself. Nothing that he does is just on the random. It's always calculated. And here we go. He's on Joe Rogan's podcast now. If that doesn't tell you something. They're talking about him being president again. If that doesn't tell you something. But this is not just Joe Rogan sitting back and listening to some spiel about him being president. He brings it up, and it's almost like Joe Rogan gives him a taste, a thought process of what it would be like if The Rock became president, the things he would have to think about, the decisions he would have to make. And Joe Rogan might single-handedly make The Rock rethink being president with the things he has to say. Let's get into this clip right now.
Going through this chaotic period of trying to grow and get better while also engaging in ridiculous conflict. And it's all happening in the blink of an eye. It's happening so rapidly. Things have changed so quickly from the time you and I were kids. I mean, when you and I were kids, it was completely. Russia. Everybody was worried about going to war with Russia.
Right.
And then when the fall of the Soviet Union, there was just like, this calm that went through the whole country.
The breath, yes.
And I thought we were done.
Yeah.
I thought, we're done with all this. This is great.
Yeah.
We figured this out.
Yeah.
But no.
Well, that's why I wonder where are the call for leaders? You know what I mean? Like where? I mean, it's a big question, but
nobody really wants to be president. It's fucking they crawl up your ass with a microscope.
Dude.
It's not fun. They talked about you being president.
Dude, I know.
I remember at one point in time it was like they were saying it should be The Rock and Oprah. They should be president and vice president.
Dude, so one of the parties came to visit me.
Oh no!
At the end of last year. Asking for me to run.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it was...
For president?
For president.
Wow.
It was, first of all, incredibly fucking surreal.
Right.
Because I was the guy, who was wrestling in flea markets years ago, looking for free corn dogs and hot dogs and shit, selling my headshots for $5, trying to make money, and then all of a sudden I'm having that conversation. But no, it was just incredibly surreal and so wild. But also so incredible that they had all this data that they had said, if this happens, here's the result. And
wow.
It was really fucking deep. And then I started to think, again, surreal, because that's never been my goal, right? I appreciate it, and I'm fucking honored, right? Because I'm like you in here, in our core, right? But it made me think, it's either this is an incredible thing, and I got some pretty decent leadership skills, or things are so fucked up.
They're turning into the pro wrestling movie star. They try to run the world,
man. But who are those leaders, whether president or not? But I wait for, as it relates to the conflict, they're like who's not necessarily step up, but just information. As you were talking about, we live in this time with incredible technology and communicate so fast, and you could be as open as your aperture stretches out to be, and you could get as much information as you can. So where are those people who are going to?
They don't want to be president. They're running their own lives, and they're looking on the sideline and wishing that someone with real leadership skills and real wisdom and real empathy and a real moral compass, who's not governed entirely by money.
Well, you just said it. I mean, those things, empathy.
Yeah.
Those kind of qualities, integrity.
Yeah.
But especially the empathy part.
Yeah.
And looking at everything as open.
Yeah.
But
But if you're a person that has empathy, how do you conduct a drone strike where you know that a certain amount of civilians, 100% are going to die, but you know that a terrorist might be in this apartment building? How do you greenlight that? Because you kind of have to if you want to get rid of this terrorist. I mean, but we know the consequences of drone strikes. There's some insane number of people that are innocent civilians that get killed. It's hard. It's been explained to me by my friends in the military that it's very difficult to know the truth because oftentimes,
in terms of what, brother?
You get lies from either side. Look, for sure, 100% for sure.
Truth in terms of the reasons for the orders that they came.
Not just the reason for the orders, but the amount of people that died that were innocent. But for sure, innocent people die. The question is how many of them. When they say they bombed a wedding party, that's real. That's happened. Like thousands of people have died that way all over the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's in Yemen or wherever they're conducting bombing raids, there have been many people that have not been a target that were killed.
Yeah.
But what are those numbers? And what's the reality of it? Because if you're on that side that get bombed, you might put out a press information. You might put out something that says 1,000 innocent civilians and they bombed a children's hospital. Yeah. But the reality might be it was actually 20 insurgents and 50 civilians. Like, we don't really know what the real numbers are unless you're on the ground doing a census. Like, I don't know if we get accurate information from either side.
Yeah.
But if you're a president, you have to deal with that horrible reality that if you do an action, if there's some sort of a military action that has to be taking place, particularly like a drone bombing in a civilian area, you're going to kill some innocent people. Yeah. That is a crazy thing to have on your conscience if you have a moral compass. It's great. And what are the options? To risk our service members and have them go in there and get gunned down and blown up and lose 50% of them because you didn't want to kill the same number of innocent civilians? Like, and then you get into that conversation. It's like, what's the solution there? Right?
Yeah.
Other than we shouldn't be at war with anybody, and we should figure out a way to stop this
before that happens.
Yes. All over the world.
Right, because usually you could kind of see it coming down the road.
Yeah,
right? You could see the scenario happening coming down the road. So maybe the ability to strategically get in, have the conversations you have to have before it actually gets to that
before
point.
It escalates to the point of like extreme violence.
Right.
But some people want extreme violence, and that's the Eisenhower speech when he left office, that there's a military-industrial complex that wants us to go to war. They profit off war. And they can, if they're the people that are funding political campaigns and they have massive amounts of money that they're using as influence, they can make certain politicians make decisions that are not in the best interests of the United States or the people that are the citizens. They can do things entirely to make money. Like you see it, and you see like the amount of money that's involved in something like Ukraine, whether or not you're pro us helping Ukraine or not. Where did we come up with all that money, and why don't we have that money to fix America? There was one point in time we talked about this where there was $6 billion they accidentally paid to Ukraine. They overpaid them $6 billion. Well, that's the exact amount of money it would take to rebuild every single house in Maui.
Exactly.
Yeah, and no discussion about that at all. Instead, the Maui people get $700, a one-time payment, which is insane. What are we? Are we a community or are we not? If we have the money to donate to some guy who is literally used to be a stand-up comedian, who used to play piano with his dick, that's Zelensky. He did a thing. There's a video of him playing piano with his dick. It was like one of his routines.
Wow.
He was a comedian, and he played a character on a television show.
Zelensky was a comedian?
Yes, Zelensky was a comedian. And he played a character of a regular guy who becomes the president. I forget what his job was in real life. But he becomes a president and then ran for president in real life and became president. And we're just sending this guy billions and billions and billions of dollars. And some of it is just like, where is it all going? Like, do we have an accurate account of, like, is anybody siphoning this? Like, we know that there's massive amounts of corruption all over the world when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, where's that money going?
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
Why don't we have that money to fix inner cities? Why don't we have that money for infrastructure? Why don't we have that money for the school system?
Inner cities.
Yeah.
Homeless.
Yeah.
Yes. Schools.
Did you see what's going on in San Francisco?
Whatever.
San Francisco, Xi Jinping is going to visit, and a bunch of world leaders, but Xi Jinping particularly. And so they cleaned up all the homelessness. They took all the tents out and they put fences up everywhere so the people can't camp out anymore. We don't even know what they did with them.
I was just going to ask, what did they do with them?
See if you can find a video of it. It's crazy. And then you got Gavin Newsom on TV who's making excuses for it. He's like, yeah, we did. Well, when people come over to visit, you clean your house up. Like, how about you fucking clean your house up?
Take care of it first.
All the time.
Yes.
If you can do this now, you could do this always. I'm assuming you did something ethically responsible with those people and housed them and put them up somewhere. I'm hoping that's what you did. You didn't just move their tent to the fucking middle of the desert or something. What have you done?
Some before and after pictures.
Yeah. Insane. Well, this is just a couple of pictures, but the really wild ones are the fences. They put fences up everywhere so the people can't camp there anymore.
Put troughs up right there.
What are the troughs for?
I don't know.
That's weird.
What are those for?
Troughs are weird. But they hose down all the streets. Like, hey, guys, why don't you fucking do this all the time? Like, why isn't this always like this?
Yeah.
This is what San Francisco used to be like. You ruined it. Now we know that you could fix it and fix it quick. Now we should be really upset. As upset as people were before about the homeless problem in San Francisco, they should be fucking furious about it now because they always had the ability to fix it quickly.
Yes.
And they brought San Francisco back quickly to safe and clean and no homeless people in the street. Now, is this temporary? Are you going to go right back to tents when Xi Jinping leaves? That's crazy.
Where'd they go? Do we know?
I don't know. What's the explanation? It's wild. It's like, oh, you could have always done this?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do this from the beginning?
Yeah.
What Nordstrom's wouldn't have had to close. All those Walgreens, everything's closed in San Francisco. They're all leaving the city. It's like the city's a fucking zombie wasteland. And you could have cleaned it up at any time? Mm-hmm. Wild.
Especially with that money. What you said they overpaid?
Overpaid $6 billion to Ukraine. Yeah, whoops, sorry. No worries. We're going to pay him more money in the future. That was the idea. Like, we'll just add it on to the money that we're going to give him in the future.
That's a little taste of what it's like to be president. Wow. And The Rock has no idea what to say. The Rock's just like, he used to play piano with his what? He's like, wait, hold on a second. Wait, I'd have to send $100 billion to that gentleman? He doesn't know what to say. Hopefully, hopefully, because I haven't listened to the whole thing, hopefully this episode is just Joe just giving him a real dose of the other side of being president, because it's fun to get approached and it's fun to run and it's fantastic to win. But then when you actually have to do the job, then all of a sudden it's a whole different story. So I'm glad Joe brought all that up, especially about the drone strikes and everything, because those are decisions that he would have to make. And do you have it in you? Do you have it in you to make that type of decision? You know, it's one thing to be in the WWE, WWF back in the day and be hated by a bunch of fans, right? In a stadium when you're playing a heel, when you're playing a bad guy. It's a whole different ball game to be hated by all of America because you did the wrong thing in some strike. You know, having a fake fight, you know, fake-ish, mostly planned, orchestrated fight versus actually taking some lives, completely different ball game. You go home at the end of a wrestling match, at the end of a movie, knowing that you didn't really do anything and you're actually friends with all those people. But if you run for president, now and then, there's a reason why all these guys get Secret Service for the rest of their lives, because they've done some things, and there's some people in other countries that may try to attempt on their life even after they're done their presidency. It's not a game. It's not a game. You know how many people have probably attempted on Trump? You know how many people? Forget Americans. People from other countries. You know how many? He bombed a general, an Iranian general. What do you think? You think nothing's happening with Trump? RFK's not even president yet. There's been 2 attempts on his life. And you know what? You know, Joe Biden, he might be Sleepy Joe or whatever, but there's probably some on his too. Like, it's not a game, this type of thing. And I hope The Rock's ready for it, because honestly, even with this little conversation that they just had, he didn't say no. He didn't say this isn't something that he wants to do. And when he was sitting with Trevor Noah in the first video that I did, and you're welcome for that, because not many people are playing that clip for people, he said if it's something that the people want. And what should really be the question is if it's something that he can handle mentally. I mean, not to say that mentally he's not some kind of juggernaut, because to do what he does, you have to be mentally fit. You have to be mentally supreme to do what he does on the schedule that he has and the workouts that he does. I have to do 2 workouts today and I'm dreading it. He does 2 workouts every day. It's wild. Obviously, I'm not taking the same things as he is, but still. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? He's bringing it up. He's been on 2 podcasts. One was a new one with Trevor Noah. His first guest was The Rock, and they're talking about him running for president. The second podcast that he's on, and The Rock is not on podcasts. He's not. And here's the thing. The second one's the biggest one in the world, right? Biggest media platform in the world. He doesn't do these type of interviews, these type of podcasts. On top of that, he's not selling a movie. He's not selling a book. He's not selling a shoe. Nothing. Why would you be doing, when you see people go on a bunch of podcasts, it's because they're actually doing a podcast run. They're doing a press run, right? They're in the press because there's something that they're trying to get done. You notice, like, you see Jordan Peterson on Rogan, then you'll see him on Theo, then you'll see him here, then you'll see him there. It's because he's selling a new book, and he'll mention the book, and they'll talk about the book. What is The Rock selling right now? Nothing. There's nothing that he's selling. So what is it? I'm going to say it again. I think he's selling the fact that he's going to run for president. I think that's going to happen. Now, is it going to happen in 2028? That would be my guess, because it's so late in the game. But the thing about it is, there's a lot of people in the DNC, in the deep state, in America, that don't want to see Trump become president. If they're approaching The Rock, and remember, he said both sides approached him. So one side fully knew that they got Trump. They have Trump. The other side is fully against him, against Trump. Both sides approached The Rock. I think this is going to be a run for 2024. I really do. After seeing this, because again, I'll bring it up. I watch podcasts constantly. It's literally what I do all day, whether or not I'm making videos. He's not selling anything. Why go on this run? It makes no sense. You don't do a podcast run for no reason. You sell something. Shows, movies, books, clothing, a new thing that you're working on. You can argue that it's the People's Fund of Maui, but he's The Rock. A post of his gets almost just as many impressions as Joe Rogan, a Joe Rogan episode. And maybe not as much, but still, it's enough. Right? I don't know. I am going to say I think there's going to be a run. I think the Democratic Party is desperate to have someone good enough to beat Trump. It's not Gavin Newsom. It's not Michelle Obama. She's liked, but she's not that liked. She's not. And she's been quiet for a real long time, and they just had that incident with their chef. I don't think it's her. I don't think Gavin Newsom is liked enough. You know, I've called him like a male Hillary Clinton, in my opinion. That's what he seems like to me. Might be The Rock. Let me know what you think in the comments about what I'm talking about. Let me know. Do you think he's ready? I personally think that he's ready in the sense of being a face and making people feel good. But I don't think he's ready in the sense of forming foreign policy. Definitely nothing that's going to rival what Trump's done. I don't know. But I do know they're desperate. They are desperate. You can tell by what's happening media-wise, what they talk about, what they're doing with Trump. They're desperate. And this might be their little, their last-ditch effort. Because it's pretty clear Trump is not going to do prison time. And again, he's still allowed to run. His name's not being taken off ballots. If he wins, he's not going to go to a prison. He's going to go to house arrest. So it could be the White House or his own house, and he could still run the country from there. So they got to do something else. And this just might be it. Like the episode, subscribe, and I'm out.